Jennifer Hayes was an experienced criminal defense lawyer working for a large law firm. She had long established herself as a relentless professional, always confident in her abilities and able to deal with the most confusing situations. One day, a man named Michael Dunstan came to her for a consultation. He was accused of murdering his wife, and the case looked rather complicated. Michael is a man with a reputation as a womanizer, an inveterate womanizer, which immediately raised suspicions about his motives. Right before her eyes, he seemed confident and calm, as if this was all some kind of misunderstanding. But Jennifer sensed that there was something more complex lurking behind this incident. Michael, with his charisma and flamboyant, confident demeanor, gave the impression of a man unlike any ordinary killer. Nevertheless, his relationship with the victim was rather strange. He had been married for a long time, but his relationship with his wife, according to the investigation, was clearly not ideal. She was a wealthy woman, and after her death, Michael could inherit a significant amount of money. Everything pointed to him as a possible culprit, especially given his numerous affairs on the side. Jennifer, realizing that this case could be complicated, still decided to take it on as she was interested in such controversial situations. Initially, Jennifer perceived Michael as a normal client to be dealt with professionally and objectively. However, as she interacted with him, she began to notice that his behavior became increasingly strange. He often tried to establish a more personal relationship with her. His behavior became more and more assertive, and he began to have conversations that were clearly outside the scope of standard counseling. Michael told her things that undermined her confidence that she really understood what was going on. He was confiding secrets to her that he wouldn't reveal to anyone else, about his family and about his wife. These revelations were embarrassing to her because they involved attorney-client privilege, and Jennifer was obligated to keep them secret. She felt as if there were dark forces lurking behind her back, ready to play their game with her. He began to tell her details of his life with his wife, their complicated and sometimes painful relationship. Sometimes he flirted with her, hinting that perhaps there could be an affair between them, and it made her feel very uncomfortable. She was sure he only needed one thing to get out of the situation to his best advantage. But she couldn't completely ignore his feelings, especially when he was showing genuine emotion about his wife's death and what had happened. As Jennifer began to look deeper into the case and gather evidence, she began to doubt that Michael was really guilty. The usual evidence, such as his financial problems and multiple relationships, did not give her the full picture. On the contrary, Michael continued to insist on his innocence and claimed that his wife was actually a very dangerous woman who could have killed him first. He claimed that her death was not an accident but a deliberate revenge. These claims made Jennifer wonder how much of it could all be true. But Michael became more and more insistent on pushing the boundaries of a professional relationship, becoming more and more intimate. His attempts to create a bond with her began to threaten her career. Jennifer didn't know whether to continue working with him or give up, because she couldn't ignore the mounting tension. Sometimes she thought he was trying to manipulate her feelings, that she might be just a pawn in his game, and it was all part of his plan. He often talked about how much he trusted her and how he felt she could help him, not only as a lawyer, but as a woman. This was beginning to threaten her professionalism, and she couldn't afford to get sidetracked from her work. Jennifer decided to do her own investigation. She wanted to find out what really happened that night when her client found his wife dead. She began researching the details and circumstances of their relationship. After several meetings with people who knew Michael and his wife, she began to have serious doubts about the version she was presenting to the court. He told her that their relationship was full of manipulation on her part, that she controlled him, and that Michael, despite his outward confidence, was weak and easily succumbed to her will. However, the further she went in her investigation, the more questions arose. She found out that there were many hidden aspects between Michael and his wife that she thought could explain her death. Michael wasn't just a victim in this case, he was part of this tragedy himself. These facts called into question her decision to work with him further. Meanwhile, as Jennifer delved deeper into the investigation, her life began to become more and more dangerous. She noticed she was being stalked. At first, it was small hints and strange happenings, but soon she began to be openly threatened. Someone knew she was digging into the case, and these threats grew more and more serious. Jennifer realized that her own safety was at risk. Her colleagues began to worry about her, and she began to suspect that Michael might be behind the threats. All of this left her anxious, and she began to wonder if she should continue to fight for the truth or give up the case to protect herself. Jennifer, who has gone through many doubts and moral quandaries, decides that she can no longer protect Michael. Her feelings for him begin to grow into more than just a professional relationship, and she realizes that this will not only ruin her career but also put her safety at risk. As she begins to investigate the events surrounding the murder of Michael's wife, she encounters inconsistencies in his stories and discovers that he is not as straightforward as he initially seemed. In the process, Jennifer reveals that his version of events has been distorted and that Michael's motives are far more complex than simply wanting money from his wife. However, despite her certainty of his guilt, she is left with the choice of uncovering the truth that could cost her everything, or letting the case fade into oblivion, thus leaving it on Michael's conscience. Ultimately, her investigation leads to a dramatic conclusion where she is forced to make a decision that will have long-term consequences for both her career and personal life. The finale is left somewhat open-ended, leaving the viewer wondering if her interpretation of events was correct and how far she would be willing to go to uncover the truth.